You are listening to the Racer to Racer podcast presented by Race 92. Race 92 is a vintage-inspired racing apparel brand specializing in celebrating vintage race culture and adapting to motorsports today. Check out race92.com for all your racing merchandise needs. I'm your co-host, Aaron Mack. The other co-host, you may have seen walking out of a great clubs with a big old smile on his face. You've probably seen him at a dirt track. He is Scott Bowie. How's it going?
Good, Aaron. How are you doing?
Good, doing great. Second show after the new year. Obviously last week was really good one with John Snyder. We definitely have heard a lot of positive things about it. So that was really cool.
Yeah, it was a fun one to do. He was a good guy, and I know you've stayed in contact with like his assistant, some people like that, and they're always so generous with their time, and so thank them very much.
And he's actually racing. He was racing this weekend in near Yuma, Arizona, I believe. Copa Speedway or something. I don't know how to say it. Cocopa. Thank you. And I know he was racing there with like Mike Wallace and I think Kenny Wallace and a couple of those guys, Ken Schrader. So
yeah, it's a neat place. I've never been there. I've watched it on MAV TV. The ASCS runs there a lot, so they show it on MAV TV. But neat place.
Yeah, well, we also have another great show this week, and I was kind of joking with Scott a little bit because he made a comment in this interview, and he's made it a couple other times, I think, in another one of our interviews, that he would run through or walk through or run through a wall for Antron Brown. So that's obviously
I actually would.
Right. Yeah. That's who we have today, and I think I was ready to do that as well. But we were going to state something of Scott actually walking through a brick wall, but we couldn't find a brick wall that he would be able to walk through. So maybe next time.
Yeah, our production budget's a little low for something like that. So,
and our medical insurance, I don't think we have medical liability to cover that.
No, I don't think so. No, I think it'd be hard to get that one through my medical insurance company. So, best not to try that yet.
Yeah, maybe one day.
Maybe one day. Yeah, man. How about Antron? Man, I mean, like I think I know I said this to him, but he just has this light about him, man. It just like whenever he's around, whenever he's speaking, he just is one of those people that just makes everybody around him, I think, raise themselves somewhat, and he makes people around him feel good, and he is just very inspirational. And some people have that ability. I wish I had more of that in myself, but he's a man of his word and a great guy, and so glad to be able to talk to him again.
And actually, we just learned this past week that his grandmother just passed away. So, definitely, sorry to hear that. And I know she's been on the TV a lot. She was always kind of with Antron a lot of the races. Definitely, meant a lot to Antron, obviously, and she was always, around him. And we were talking about that a little bit when he got on because, he was kind of talking about this. He was kind of, getting worse and stuff. So, definitely, really sad to hear that. And definitely our thoughts and prayers are with him and with his family.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing that comes through is in just talking to him in general, and then through talking to him on our podcast, is he's a family guy, and that means so much to him, and he holds those people close to him, and I feel horrible for his loss, and I just hope they're able to get through these times.
Right. I've seen that he's been posting a lot on social media. They've been building their top fuel car and everything. So, and that'll be here. I don't know when their first race is. I would imagine there's probably, I don't know, probably April or May. I would think we should know this.
At least, yeah.
And there's a couple new. Yeah. There's a couple new NHRA teams. So we got that team, Antron's team, and then also Tony Stewart Racing.
Yeah, Tony Stewart Racing, and then I think there was a couple others, but yeah, it's gonna be NHRA is gonna be really interesting this year. See how these new teams do, and Antron, we just talked to him about it a little bit, and he definitely has a plan in place, where he wants to see his team and the growth of his team over the next several years. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes about for him.
And I have no
And
doubt that
again,
he will get there
yeah.
because everything that guy's done. I mean, and you'll see in the interview, like basically everything this guy has ever done, he has succeeded.
Well, and I think it's his attitude and the amount of work he puts into it, and he discusses a lot of the mentality that he uses to in everything in his life that he does. And I think
Mhm.
that comes through anecdotally just from watching him and then listen to him talk. Obviously it comes through in that discussion. And he just man, like I said, man, guys like him, women like him, they just really raise the level of everybody around them. And it's always so great to be able to speak to someone like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're actually I think one of my favorite stories that we've had so far in this whole podcast was a sponsorship story where he talks about when he was I think a teenager at that point, and basically he made a deal with a pizza guy, and I won't go into details. We'll let him tell the story, but it was a pretty cool story. I've showed like my dad and a couple other people, and everyone thought it was really cool. And I know your nephew saw it as well.
Yeah, and I think that really is the essence of who he is. I
Hmm.
think if one story could sum up someone, that would be it. Um,
Absolutely.
at least sum up his mentality toward how he goes about trying to do things. So again, man, I was just so glad to be able to talk to him. It was an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, and obviously he had a lot going on then because he's having issues with his grandmother, not doing well, and he still took time for us. And there's so many people out there who would have just rescheduled it or whatever, and he didn't. So it definitely means a lot to us, and it definitely shows the type of person Antron is. And yeah, no, I would run through probably two or three back to back brick walls for that guy.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree, and I would too. And man, I just yeah, I just wish that I had the words to sum up what speaking to someone like that feels like. I mean, I hope everybody else gets those same feelings, and I hope people think I'm just not rambling on just to build up the guest, because he truly is an inspirational person, just from his mental attitude. And he's a no excuses guy. I
Right.
mean, he just things need to be done. He tries to get them done. Not only does he try to get them done, he tries to get them done the right way. And
Absolutely.
I think that's what I admire about him.
Well, I think another news. So this upcoming weekend is a Chili Bowl, and we're planning on doing our Chili Bowl live stream. For those, a lot of people probably wouldn't know that we did it last year because it was on a different platform. So this year it's on the Racer to Racer platform, and we're working on getting some guests lined up for it. So I'm not real sure who we're going to get yet, but we're definitely planning on doing it. I think we're going to do it around 6 Eastern time, give or take. But we'll post finalize details here in a few days once we get some things worked out.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I've been looking forward to it for a long time, and um, it's a real casual thing. It is just a race companion, where we watch the races while we talk, and oftentimes we talk about the races. Sometimes we go off on tangents talking about other things, but uh, so it's a fun thing. I look forward to doing, and I'm glad to be able to do it, with you and hopefully Kellen and Kim again, and hopefully some other guests. So yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, I think we'll go ahead and get right into the Antron Brown interview. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere podcasts can be found. We're more likely there. And yeah, thanks everyone for the support, and definitely stay tuned. We have several others already recorded that we will be releasing in the next couple of months. So definitely look forward to those. Also very good ones as well.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing I wanted to add, which you didn't know about, it's a racer. His name is Kevin Huntley. His nickname was Pup, so Kevin Pup Huntley, USAC winner, two-time All-Star Sprint Car champion, passed away at the young age of 56, I believe, and he's asleep in Kentucky. For us open wheel fans, he was really a great talent, and it's a shame that he's gone so soon. But I just want to acknowledge his passing because he brought so much pleasure to so many people, and he was a really good guy. And but I go along with what you said. I just hope everybody has a great week, and please enjoy.
Our guest today is a 3-time NHRA Top Fuel World Champion and has 68 event title wins, 52 of which being Top Fuel and 16 in Pro Stock Motorcycle. We're joined by Antron Brown. Antron, thank you so much for being on. How's it going?
Aaron, anytime. It's my pleasure. And it's been looking forward to it. This 2021 is coming to a close, and we're just got our eyes set on this 2022 coming up, which we have a lot of big and great things going on, and just really excited, man. Just excited for this new year to come. But we're going through we're going through those trenches right now. We got the elbows grinding, the knees are grinding, man. We're up there, and we're just trying to get through this off season right now. We have so much stuff to get done right now.
So before we get started, I'm going to tell you a little story.
Okay.
And you won't remember this. You came. I had a small shop, machine shop. And I think you had RC boats or something at the time.
Yeah.
And you come in and you were talking to my brother about possibly making a piece for one of the boats out of aluminum. And you came up and sat. We had a step stool in the front. And so I sold parts, and then we had a work area, and then we had the machines in the back. And up front where the desk was, you came in and sat down, and we had this stool, just a step stool that we actually used so we cleaned the ceiling that, but people would use it as a chair. And you sat down one day and you talked to my mom and I for roughly an hour, 45 minutes, an hour. And when you walked out of my shop, Mom and I looked at each other, and I told my mom, I said, I would run through a wall for that man. I said, he's so inspiring. He's got so much energy. He's so engaging. I said, I would follow that dude anywhere. And she goes, he's one of the most impressive young people I've ever met.
Wow.
And I've never forgotten it. And Aaron and I were talking the other day, that step stool, we had varied customers in there, right? We had a lot of different customers, people, older people from different forms of motorsports, younger people from different forms of motorsports. And I told Aaron that step stool, we'd have a lot of conversations. And that step stool really was a genesis in many ways of this show, years and years and years later. Because that was the one thing I really enjoyed about that business was the stories people would tell us. And yours being one of the most standout stories we ever had there. So I just wanted to share that story with you, and B, thank you for taking your time to come in and speak with us today.
Anytime, Scott. That's what makes it special. Is for me, to be honest with you, is all the people that I have met throughout my walks of life. And the coolest part is that this is just me. Like, I'm like this every day, because every day I wake up, I always look at today as a new opportunity to go out and explore, to learn things, to grow. And I learned so many things through conversations that I have with different people. You know what I mean? And just taking the time and like literally going, wow, you know what I mean? Because that's how I got here to where I'm at. And I never forget when I was a kid, I was 10 years old. I went to my first professional drag race, and I met Big Daddy Darn Garlitz. And he taught me just like his humility and his humbleness, just welcoming people in. And do you know, when I became a pro in Top Fuel, I was talking Big Daddy, and I was telling him this story. And he goes, I remember you. I remember, I'm like, you don't remember me. That's 1986, man. Come on, man.
Right.
Like, you don't remember me. This was like back in 2009 when I told him this. And he goes, I remember you. You're that kid in New Jersey. You were small. You had the cutest little curly hair. And he goes, you pointed at my cross on my car. And you asked me what that meant. And he told me, like, you know what I mean? Like, he always puts God first. And I never forget it. And I was just like in awe because he remembered me. And that's the reason why I knew he remembered, because he remembered me pointing at the cross on his car. And I didn't bring that up. He brought that up to me.
Wow, that's amazing.
And you're talking about 1986 to 2009. Like, I met the man for 5 minutes. Like, you know what I mean? Let me go by his car, look at his car. Of course, let me in the ropes. And I was just in awe. And I told him, I said, I want to do that one day. And in 2009, he goes, well, you're doing it, son, and you're doing it well. And I remember him telling me that. I was like, so that moment there, you never know. And he taught me something where I value the conversations I have with people all the time, because I pick up things. I learn a little bit about their history, where they're from, their background, and what they're about. And that's the cool part. I really enjoy that about people, because you learn so much from them. Little things. It could be little things. Like when I was at your machine shop, you could have shown me the way you guys did a certain thing. And I'm like, man, wow, that was cool. And it resonated with me. Or I saw a cool part up in your front office that you might have machined from somebody else that was in your showcase. I'm like, man, I never thought about that. It's just things like that that motivates me and push me, because there's opportunity around all of us. Just how we choose to go get it and how we pick up new creative ideas is from the people that surround us.
Well, I firmly believe if you look at the ground, you're going to see the ground, and if you look at the sky, you're going to see the sky. But if you look around you, you're going to see the world.
Yes.
And you'll be able to take it in. And like you said, don't, you want to take each experience as it comes and let the experience play out. And you never know what you'll learn from it.
No. Like, the craziest part is we always think about, and we talk this, like I talk to so many people and talk to a lot of young adults, like students in college, students in high school. And I tell them, and they go like, well, how'd you get where you're at? I said, well, you know what? It's not like it was hard. It was hard when I was on the outside looking in, because you don't know how to get in. But the thing about it is, how you get in is by putting yourself out and around it. And when you put yourself out and around it, you'll get opportunity. But the choice is, are you going to prepare yourself to grasp that opportunity or to jump on it? And everything I've done, it was just that I was just so into everything that I did. I ate it, I slept it, I dreamed it, you know what I mean? And I was living it. But the thing about it is, to become it, you have to embody all those things I just said. And when you do, even though you're not there yet, you are it already. It's just that world doesn't know yet. You get what I mean? And
All right.
And I didn't realize that. And I had one of my mentors and one of my first team owners tell me that. And that was Troy Vincent when I raced motorcycles. That was the defensive back for the Philadelphia Eagles at the time. And now Troy, of course, went on and did bigger things, where he is the executive vice president under Roger Goodell for the whole NFL now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So his mindset and his stillness and his calmness and his, like, he just observed everything that was around him every time. He studied people like a hawk, and he learned from them, from the way they talked, the way they carried themselves. And that was a trait that I picked up from him. And whoever I'm around, I was like a sponge, constantly just information. It was just, I am a person of information. I want to know. And I want to know why, how, and how can I do it? You get what I mean? And and for me, when I got into the sport of drag racing, I never stopped learning. Like, I can sit here and talk to you about the mechanics of the race car, how the blocks are engineered, how the cylinder heads were engineered, the processes of doing it, from the aerodynamics of the way we implement on the car, the wing stance, what we do, how we can make the car steer, less steering. And I mean, I could talk to you about horsepower. I could talk to you about fuel curve. I can talk to you about everything that has to do with that top fuel dragster. And then I can go and talk to you on the business side of it also, from the racing standpoint. And I think the more you know of all the different type of applications is when you go into a room and I can talk to the sponsors, I can talk to the engineers, I can talk to anything that's got to do about their race car, from the business standpoint to the engineering side, to even the logistics of getting the transporters to the racetrack. I can drive them. I have my CDL, my Class A, since I was 21. I mean,
Wow.
I have it from A to Z, and I'm constantly learning and evolving myself every facet of this business, of this sport. So I can actually be better each and every day. I don't want to stop growing. And that's just how I work. That's how I operate.
Now,
Scott was saying, sorry.
no, what I was going to say is I just reading your bio, and obviously you got into sport as a young person, and you had your family and that in the sport. Were you always this person, even as a child? Were you that kid that asked all the questions, wanted to know how everything works? Took stuff apart, trying to figure out how to put it back together?
I was very fascinated with stuff at an early age because my dad and uncle, I remember my dad and uncle were sportsman racers before I was born. They worked hard Monday through Thursday and Friday sometimes, but took off mostly half days Fridays. They head to the racetrack. Sportsman racers, super comp, super gas, bracket racing. That's what they did. And I grew up around. I had no choice. I have an older brother that's 6 years older than me, and I have a cousin, Andrea, which is like my sister that I grew up with. That's my first cousin from my uncle who drove the race cars. And we all grew up in the same household, same house, like big family, duplex. We lived on top, they lived on the bottom. And then we went to my grandpa's and grandmom's house where they stored everything. So that's what we did as a family. And I just remember distinctly when I was 12 years old, my dad came in a pole barn because I was racing dirt bikes. We didn't have junior dragsters when I was growing up as a kid. They didn't have nothing like that. I remember my dad coming there. I got tired of getting worn out the racetracks. I know the kids in the local division at home were cheating. They were racing modified 80s. They're running like 105 kits in their 80s. And those kids that I beat all the time that were just wearing me out. And I got tired of it. And I told my dad, I said, Dad, I got to get my bike faster. And he was like, what you want to do? I go, I need to put a big board kit. You ain't taking that. I ain't got time for that. You ain't taking that apart. You need to race and figure it out. And you just need to get better. Stop making excuses. I said, Dad, when I'm on a straightaway in high gear and they're walking past me like I'm standing still, and then I catch them in the turns and all the technical sections, they just got more power than I do. Like I'm wide open and they're passing me like they have another gear. I said, I know what they're doing. I got a 53-2 sprocket on the back of my bike, and they're running a 49. That tells you they got more power, right? So I go home, I tore my whole bike apart. I ordered a big bore kit, and then I took my jug to the local dealership. My mom took me, and I had them do the machine work on the cylinder where they bored it out. And my dad came home, saw my 80 all apart up in the shed. I had a shed for my bike. I couldn't keep in the garage by his race cars. If it fell over on his race cars, he'll go berserk on me, right? So my dad comes in there, shook his head. He goes, this thing is never going to run again. Walked out. Like my dad was just never optimistic. He was just like, I can't believe you did this. Brand new dirt bike. You tore it all apart, like 2 months old. He came back home from work the next day, and he saw me out in the field. I was out there breaking it in, running, everything back together. Like I bought the service manual. I used his torque wrenches and everything. It was a 2-stroke dirt bike. It doesn't get any simpler than that, right? Did all the stuff on how you break it in. I ran an extra, running 32-1. I ran it 20-1 when I was breaking in, very thick on oil. Ran it where it got warm, shut it off, let it cool down, ran it again, let it cool down, did all the stuff. So my dad saw me riding it, and my dad came back and he goes, "I'll be damned." He goes, "You got that thing back together." And then from then on, my dad had me helping him. Like, I was helping on the race car, but I was more polishing. I could take wheels on and off, but I couldn't work on the car. Then my dad goes, "You gonna help me take the transmission out tonight? You're gonna be the one underneath the car, so I ain't hurting my back." So I'm back there in the creeper underneath the car, putting it, like, taking the bolts out. Like, I'll crack them loose with the big one, and then I'll take them out with the ratchet real fast, the smaller ratchet, and then I'll put the dowel pins in and did all that stuff, and then unloosen other bolts, and then take the yoke down and get him the aluminum dry shaft, and I'll slide the tranny back. He has no jack, he'll load a jack down, and I'll guide it while he rolls it out from underneath the car. So this is the funny part, because I'm up on a high jack stands, but I'm small enough to go underneath there and do it. So that's when my whole deal with my dad started going. All right, that's 12 years old. That was my papers to help him do the serious jobs, like change engines, transmissions, change rear ends, doing all that stuff. And that's when I started working on cars, when I was 12 years old, even though I started doing my own dirt bike since I was like 10 years old.
That's amazing. And that's such a great indication of how driven you are. I'm sorry, Aaron. I know I stepped on your question.
Oh no,
I asked this
you're
something.
fine. No, I was going to say, Scott was saying he talked to you for an hour, Antron. He was ready to run through a wall for you. I've talked to you for about 15 minutes. I think I'm already ready to run through a wall. But no, so obviously you're talking about starting with dirt bikes. At what point did you think about actually becoming a drag racer? I mean, obviously you did the pro stock motorcycles, and I know you were talking a little bit about Troy Vincent, who actually called you in college, right, and asked you if you were capable of running a pro stock motorcycle.
Well, when I was literally 16 years old, I started like getting like really good in motocross. I was training with some the local guys that live up the street from me, like Robbie Wood, Teddy Kukowski, people in my local deal, where Robbie was a really fast amateur B-level rider, right before he turns pro, and I was novice at the time. And I qualified to go to Loretta Lynn's that year in 125 novice. So basically you got to be as fast as the amateur riders locally, but you go to Loretta Lynn's, you're going to race the novice class. You got to be mid-pack. So I used to race schoolboy, so I could race with the faster kids. So I didn't point up, because I would have won all of our novice races that year, all of our local tracks in in our district, like, you know what I mean? Around our district, from PA, New York, Maryland, New Jersey, because I grew up in New Jersey. So being that said, I was training really good, and I won my district, won the regional, and we're going to Loretta Lynn's. And I was training at Robbie's track and Teddy's track, and practicing with them, and I got hurt real bad. I actually dislocated my left arm, and I had what you call a anterior dislocation, when your arm just drops down. You just knock it out. Well, I was coming off the bike, and I should have just let the bike go, and I didn't. And in the front forks bottomed out at the end of the whoop section, and it just kicked my arm up like that, because it bottomed out so hard, and it popped my arm out, what you call a posterior dislocation on top of the shoulder. My arm was like this behind my head. I could look at my fingers, but I couldn't move it. I was in severe pain, and I chipped and broke fractured my rotator cuff, and chipped the very tip of the bone where it came out at. And then I remember them talking about surgery, but they said it would be a good chance I could heal normal once they got it back in, if I did the proper rehabs and shrink the tendons back down and get everything back. So basically, it took me like almost over a year to get full range of motion back. And then, so I just stayed in school and just tried to play some normal high school sports for my senior year. And I started racing dirt bikes again a year later, but just locally, not gotten serious into it. And I thought my deals of going from novice to amateur to pro in motocross was gone. And I still raced motocross, so it was still my love. And then I started playing with street bikes, and started going to local drag strips, street bikes. I met Troy. He had a couple of street bikes. He let me ride his street bikes. I started going out there, riding street bikes for him at the local drag strips and stuff like that. And they used to bet on the bikes and stuff like that. And I used to ride it for him. And that was a lot of fun. And then he got that wild hair up his butt where he goes, "I want to start a professional race team." And that's when it started for me. And he started, it was myself, and he wanted Ricky Gatson, who was out there, to be the second rider. He wanted a 2-bike team. And then we talked to my other cousin, Eric Ellis, who was going to be the other rider, but he couldn't afford to do it full time because he had a great paying job of what he was doing. And then I became the only rider. And I remember it like yesterday, where called me up, offered it to me, and I said, I'm in. But it was a sacrifice that came with it. I was in college at the time. I was at a junior college on a track scholarship, Mercer, out of New Jersey. And then I just got a full scholarship to go to LIU, Long Island University in New York, which was a D1 good track school to go to in business school. I could have went to different colleges to run track and field all over the place, big name schools, but I wanted to go there because Chris Carter was the track coach there, and he just got done running the 96 Olympics on the 4x100 meter relay team. So I figured he could train me because I was a 100 meter, 200 meter runner and long jump. So he could train me so I can go to the Olympics. You know what I mean? I ran times quick enough that would have got me into the Olympic trials and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Everybody said, no, you had times good enough. No, I had to still go through all the preliminaries to get there. I never ran in Olympic trials, and everybody always gets it wrong because they changed the story around, of course, you know, but I was quick enough, and and from there I had to give it up. It was my deal to say drag racing, to do something I loved, or doing something that I was serious about. I was just a competitor at nature. I don't care what I did. I was going to compete at a high level and give it my all. No matter what I did, I was all in, no matter what it was. If we're all together and we're sitting here and we're sitting in a chair and we had a wall with some quarters, I'd be like, come on, man, pull them quarters out your pocket. Let's start pitching these quarters against the wall.
That's right.
See who's closer there. Let's go. What you got? What you got? You know what I mean? Like no matter what it is, I'm going to find something to compete. We're going to compete at something. You know what I mean? So that was the story on how I went from motocross to street bikes, got into drag racing, and then Troy got me teamed up with Dave Schultz, the 6-time world champ, and we were a satellite team underneath him for a year. And I learned so much from Dave, and that's where I really got into the engineering. A lot of people go, well, what made you get into all these small details into the engineering side? When I was with Dave, before I started racing my first year, I had to learn how to honestly build my bike. He built our brand new Pro Stock bike from scratch, got the chassis in, the bare chassis. Then I was there with him wiring it, plumbing it, running the brake lines, doing everything on these Pro Stock bikes. And it was amazing. And I learned all that through Dave.
I met him once, just randomly at somebody's shop here in town, and he was you could tell he was a very serious guy about what he did. He had just this air of just like I said, being just serious about his racing, and the shop I was in, he was just asking some questions about some things, and you could just tell. I mean, he's just, this guy's just constantly digging for information.
Oh, that's how Dave always lived. He was serious. And I learned a lot from him. I learned so much from that guy in the years I spent with him. Neat, tidy details. You know what I mean? Not just throwing things together. Everything was done right.
Yeah, that was the impression I got. And of course, if you look at his equipment, it was always immaculate. I mean,
yes.
Yeah. I mean, second to absolutely none.
Absolutely. He did it right. He for sure did it right.
So obviously you were, very successful in pro stock motorcycles. At what point did you say, I want to, switch to the cars?
This is a cool story. When I first started racing pro stock motorcycle and I was new to the scene, excuse me, Daryl Gwynn comes up to me. Daryl Gwynn. And when I first started racing with Troy, a lot of people don't know this, but our pro stock motorcycle was out of Daryl Gwynn's shop down there in Fort Lauderdale. Okay. And Daryl said, you need to be driving a top fuel car. You need to get off these bikes. You need to go top fuel racing. And back then I was like, man, we should have did that. We should have did that back then, earlier, you know what I mean? But it took me 10 years of my bike career before I moved to top fuel. But it was a good thing because in that 10 years, I learned so much. You know what I mean? And literally 5 years into my bike career, I started letting people know that I was interested. Like, because people always say, man, would you drive a top fuel car? I said, yes, I would. All day. You know what I mean? If I had the opportunity, but I never raced another car or whatever. But because if you could race that bike, you could drive this top fuel car. And I took it in and I started letting people know. And this is another thing that I always try to let people understand is that even though you want to do things, they don't happen. But if you stay persistent, you will beat the resistance. You know what I mean? That's the only thing that beats resistance is persistence. And that's what I was doing. And it took from there another 5 years before I drove a top fuel. Not 4 years, because in 2007, I got to test a top fuel car for David Powers. But that was all through Lee Beard and David Powers. And Lee Beard used to work at Don Schumacher Racing, who used to tune Whit Basemore's funny car back in the day. And I told him numerous times, I said, Lee, I would love to drive one of these cars. And Lee used to call me Tron. Tron, man, you got it, man. He goes, if it was my say, I'll put you in a car right now. And Lee, he won championships for Joe Gibbs. He's got numerous drivers, their first wins. And he was just a heck of a mind and crew chief. You know what I mean? And I just remember when I came on, the car was running really good. That could win races. It could win races. And the driver just wasn't getting the job done. Like, it was getting beat on hole shots. He had the faster car and they were losing on hole shots. And I never forget where I was like, man, if I could just get in that car and learn how to drive it, I said, I think I could leave on time. Like, you know, I pride myself. Like, I got practice trees sitting over here on the left side of me right now. I got practice tree out in my pole barn. Everywhere I go, I got practice trees. I got a practice tree right here in my desk drawer. You know what I mean? So I got stuff everywhere. I'm just looking everywhere. So the funniest part is that Lee told David, when he became the team manager of David Powers, he became the general manager, start making decisions. He told David, we need to look at this kid, Antron Brown, and get him to drive this, come over and drive a car. And you should be able to market him and get him a sponsorship and get him to drive this car. And I was like, okay, cool. And then, and David talked to me, got me to come aboard. And that's when everything took off. Everything just took off. And David called me up and he goes, well, we have to speed your process a little bit, is because right now we have an intern driver for Whit Basemore, is David Baca. And Maco's interested in probably putting you in this car, but they have some other people that they want to interview also. And then Maco called me and interviewed me. And he goes, we know you'll be the best spokesperson we ever had, because I represented the U.S. Army at the time. But then they go, but we need somebody that can drive the car. Because I never drove one. You know what I mean? So that's what happened. And they gave me they said, we're going to let you drive the car, test the car with David. And I test the car. And that's when it got in. Tim Buckley was one of David's business partners. And I was very fortunate. Tim paid for me to go to drag racing school. It was $6,000 for me to go to Frank Hawley's drag, $6,500, I think it was, to go to the not the A-Fuel, but the alcohol drag show where you have to actually shift it, throttle brake, take it off. And Frank Hawley did such a great job with me, because I went to a school for pro stock motorcycle years ago, and did such a great job with me on teaching me what to do and how to do it. You know what I mean? And then when I got there, I was prepared. I went through so many mental runs on how driving a fuel car. I sat in the car numerous times on how to trim the fuel pumps, how to let the clutch out, you know what I mean? Do a burnout, back it up. And when I got there and I drove that car in testing, Lee looked at me. He goes, he got on the phone with Frank. He didn't let me know this, but he told Frank, and Frank told me after the fact, like a year later, goes, Frank, if I didn't know Antron never drove a top fuel car, he looked like he was driving this, like it was somebody that drove the car for 10 years. He looked like a pro. He backed it up so smooth, stopped to put in the gear, didn't fight to put in the gear, put in the gear, rolled it forward, stopped. When he rolled it in the stage beams, he rolled it in. He just feathered it in, flickered the bulb, hit the tree, and the kid had 50 lights. Like, he's like, was this kid, like, how did he do in school? And Frank just told me, he goes, Lee, He was in school like a duck to water. He just took to it like a duck to water. That was Frank's exact words. And for me, it was just, I just paid attention. I observed even the other guys and girls that were in the cars doing the alcohol school too, because it was only 3 of us at a time, because you can't run a lot of people through the school because the cars are so extensive to service and everything. I just watched them. Those 2 guys, I watched them, and I just watched them and watched them and watched them and paid attention to school. And they didn't go through school like that. I got my license in 6 runs. They had to come back and do other runs because they messed up other runs. But I just listened to Frank and did exactly what he said to do. And that was the whole story of going into Top Fuel, how it happened. And then when I got back, David Powers called me the day after I got done testing. He goes, "You got the job. We want you." And he talked money, talked different stuff, talked about my bonus program. I was like, I'm in. He could have told me I'll give you $50 a week. I was like, I'm in.
Well, maybe 65, right? Maybe, you know.
Shoot, 65, I'd have been in with a smile.
You know, you kind of alluded to it a moment ago, and this is something we've talked to a couple drivers in other disciplines. Visualization. Do you use a lot of visualization?
Yes, I think I do a lot of mental reps, because the more you do the mental reps, it's like getting real time. You know what I mean? Like you're visualizing yourself to do it, when I sit there and visualize and do mental reps, I'm not sitting there just with my eyes closed thinking about it. I got my eyes closed, visualizing. I'm doing my hand motions and everything along with it. Foot motions, everything. I'm sitting just like I'll sit in a race car. Feet there, throttle, pedal there, clutch pedal, reverser down here on my left. You know what I mean? So everything is right where I need it at. Fuel levers up here to trim the fuel, parachutes on the right. I mean, I know parachute buttons here with the left hand. I mean, I know where everything's at. You get what I mean? So it's just natural. It's just a natural process. And I just get into it and then when I get in the car, it just feels like I'm at home. Like I practice so much and train myself where I'm doing it with my unconscious mind. I don't have to think to do it. I react and do it. You get what I mean? Right. And once you get to that state, that's when everything just starts happening quick and fast, and you're doing the things that you need to do.
For someone like me, like kind of looking from the outside in, like it would seem like with drag racing, when you go through a run, it's like 3 to 4 seconds. And, that's unlike other forms of motorsports where, you can be in a car for 3 hours and you have 3 hours to kind of work through your mistakes and improve. Like it would seem like it would be a lot more difficult in a dragster because you have 3 seconds. So, at that point, like, are you just ready to go back out and see if you like improve, or kind of how does that work? Because you have, like I said, 3 seconds.
Well, the thing about it is, what you learn about drag racing, is the most intense form of motorsports out there. And what I mean about that is you have no do-overs, you have no mulligans. Only do-overs you have is your qualifying laps. Once you get to eliminations, you mess up on the starting line, you're done. You're going home. You're loading up when you come back to the trailer. You know what I mean? It's like you got to advance every round to get to that 4th round to get that trophy. And for us, you have to practice where you become, like Tony Schumacher says it the best, you got to become a machine, plain and simple. And it's like you got to have no feelings, no emotions, and you got to go up there with a blank mind where you just do it. Like the Nike slogan, just do it. You got to, like, that is this, and in full demand. This is it. You go up there. You got to think where you're at that certain time and execute where you're at. You can't, when drivers mess up, when they're thinking about the whole run, you're thinking about, I got to win this round. I got to do this. I got to do this. No, when you get into a Top Fuel or a funny car or anything drag racing, it is a state of mind at that moment. And the ones that are great at it are the ones that can blank their mind out, where they execute with no emotions. Your emotions, you can be emotion way before, but when you get in, put that helmet on, a switch has got to go off, and you got to become a Terminator. Right. Like you're ready to you're ready to eliminate everything at will, like boom. And like my focus gets on, my eyes get stern, my eyes get straight. I'm looking forward, never worrying about what's out around me. I am focused where everything you can, like my mind, you can hear a pin drop in my mind. You know what I mean? I can hear the
Can you
sound of
can you
wind
even
in
hear the
my
car?
mind.
Can you hear the
No,
car?
the car gets really settled. It's like blanked out because you're so focused.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I can't even tell you who's in the stands or what color this was, what banner this was, or that band. I mean, I'm so focused, I see the track in front of me, and everything just gets really still and quiet.
Your visors,
Now,
do you guys block out like the side of your visors? I know some guys do. Do you do that?
Some people block out their visors. I have some on my visors, but it's not for me not to see. I actually sell those spots because I got sponsors on my visor. So if you see my visor's closed, I have streamlight flashlights. It's because it's a predominant spot when the camera comes up to the car, they're right on your face. So they're actually spots that I close off to where I can see like this, but it doesn't bother me. I can see, I don't look here anyway. Like I'm not distracted. I'm not one that is easily distracted at all. You know,
now, does that process start taking place like when you put your helmet on and you're getting in the car, or does it take place when the belts are finally pulled down?
Once the belts are pulled down and like I'm in the car, and that process starts taking place where I could talk on the microphone. I'm talking back and forth to the crew chiefs and everything. I have a mic in my helmet. But that process starts once we start the car up.
Okay.
Once we start the car up, my mind goes blank.
Man, that's great. Yeah, Will Power was talking a little bit about his qualifying when he qualifies in IndyCar, and he was talking about flow state and visualization and all that as well. And it's similar. I mean, it's a similar kind of thing as exactly what you're talking about. So, now, was that something that you've always been able to do since you were a child? Is this something that, like, when you ran motocross, you were able to do something similar, or run track and all that, or is this something that you had to build up? Is this a muscle you had to build?
I think that was something that, over time it got better. I think I learned a lot of it from track and field. Motocross, I learned a lot about technique and flow. Like motocross is a very, like, when you race technical tracks and you want to get a flow where you're using less energy because you get a flow going on where you're not stiff or you're not holding on the bike tight. You're just getting a flow going where you're relaxing in areas. You know what I mean? So learn a lot about technique back then. And then I learned a lot about flow. You know what I mean? So,
right.
So when I got older, I just started expanding on that. No matter what I did, I started learning the technique. And I always was one to come to learn a technique first before I went blazing fast. Because when you go blazing fast out the gun, you kind of doing stuff bonsai. You don't really learn the proper forms of technique on how to do things. So I'm a very technical person on that side of it. And I learned that when I was racing motocross, and I learned that from my first motocross school I went to, which was Gary Bailey's motocross school in Axton, Virginia. And I learned so much from him, and we went every year for 4 years in a row. And I learned a lot of things at that school.
Well, that's the beauty of James Stewart, was when he really got into that flow and he's doing the whoop sections and that, man, it was as beautiful writings as you ever saw.
James, let me tell you something. He is the pro of pros in motocross and supercross. I don't think we will ever, I can't say ever, but that man, like he created the style in that sport, the scrub, how he whipped it, the momentum he carries in corners and stuff like that. Like everybody can do that stuff now, but he was the first of his kind because he invented it. He invented that stuff. Yeah,
and that was real. He was, it went bad for him a couple times, over his career. When you race like he raced, it can get a little sideways on you a little bit. But man, when he was on, it was a thing of beauty. It
was
really
crazy.
was.
It was crazy. It was crazy. Yes, it was.
So you go through your racing career, and to this point, you've got final rounds, you've got an over 50% winning percentage. I don't know if it's 55% winning percentage if you make the final round, something like that. So you're pretty hot driver. You're you're as good as they get. And then now you're starting your own race team,
Mm-hmm.
and we're, when you kind of, I mean, guys like you aren't just walking the streets, I mean, this had to be a conscious decision. It's like, hey, man, I've done it for other people. Now I'm going to do it for myself. What was kind of the process behind that?
The process is that I look at our sport and how it grows. And I just looked at it in the years when our sport was booming, like back in the late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s, early 2000s, when you had the Bernsteins out there, the Perdomes were out there. Then you had the Schumachers, you had the Forces, the Colettas, the Lucas family was out there. You know what I mean? You had a lot of big name teams out there. You know what I mean? Like Vandergriffs, a lot of big name teams. And but all of them were like 1 or 2 car teams, but you had a lot more of them. And then as I saw our sport where it became the season of the mega teams, the Colettas having 4 or 5 cars, Force having 4 or 5 cars, Schumacher having 8 cars, 4 in each category, then 2 pro stock cars and 2 pro stock motorcycles. I mean, he had 1 in every division. You know what I mean? So, and then you saw all that, and that the sport went a different direction. You know what I mean? Where it got sucked in like that, where the small teams started fading away. And now I think our sport's getting healthier again, where you're starting to see new people doing it, like your Ron Capps, like myself. And the crazy part of it is mine's been in the works for over the last 2 years, of course, and everybody knew it. It was out there because it was getting out there because of the way all of our stuff was structured. So we made announcements so people understand, you know what I mean? And then what I think it did was, I think it was a good thing. It started encouraging other people, you know what I mean? Like your Ryan Capps, and you have Tony Stewart coming over to sport, falling in love. And Leah's out there branching out where she's doing it and then Matt Hagan goes over there with them. And then you see like your Josh Hart's coming out doing it. You know what I mean? Your Steve Torrances are doing it. You have so many new faces out there doing it. You know what I mean? Your Todd Paytons that got your Cameron Ferreras out there, your Terry Haddocks. So many new teams are starting to generate. And I think it is going to be great for this sport. And, and you got Tony Schumacher coming back underneath the DSR umbrella. Don might potentially working on other teams to bring back underneath his umbrella. So he'll get back to having 2, 3, or 4 cars. Then these other new teams that sprouted out on their own. So you just see the sport just getting more and more deeper, and your Trip Tatum's coming out. You know what I mean? Figuring out how to do it. So I think that in general is making our sport going to get back to where it needs to be, and the Camping World coming on board, the new TV packages, where the sport already started growing. Now you're starting to see it trickle down to the race teams where they're starting to grow. And for me, who's next to carry the torch? You know what I mean? Don, you know what I mean? He's been around, been in the Hall of Fame. Very grateful for everything that we have gotten from DSR and what I've done with DSR. And all the success, the championships, the race wins, and from Pro Stock Motorcycle to Top Fuel. And the thing about all the things he's done. But the next thing is that the seeds that's been there for so long, now they're going out, being thrown to the ground. And now we've got trees starting to grow elsewhere. And he's been a part of that, from your Ron Capps to your Matt Hagens, to myself. And I think that's what this sport needs. And we can still buy parts and pieces from entities like DSR or DSM, Don Schumacher Motorsports, who creates great products. And then you can go buy other parts and pieces from your Force Racing. You can buy parts and pieces from your Alan Johnsons and all these other companies that are out there, from Aerodyne. And what it's doing is just creating growth. But at the end of the day, when the DSRs like the Perdomes and Bernsteins are not there, I think DSR will always be there because you got his daughter Megan and her husband Chad that are very instrumental in it. That's running in it right now. And then Tony's coming back. He'll be a part of it also. So I think you're going to see them go on for past years, and John Force will do the same thing with Robert Height and Brittany and the other family and the girls running that deal. You follow what I mean? And Coletta will go on with Dougie running it also. But now you're going to have these other entities that are forming, like myself, that can grow the sport and bring other people in the sport. And that's what the sport needs. I think that is a must-have for us to go out on this branch in this direction to help the sport grow to its full potential. You know what I mean? Like Marcus Lamone is coming out, starting to do different stuff, and his television, production companies coming in. They're going to do some stuff on our sport and produce some great things out there. So there's going to be a lot of things happening. You know what I mean? That's in the works. That's going to come out. That's really going to take drag racing to a whole new level.
Do you think that, I guess I should put it to you this way. So you've got your company as it is today, and you've got your lineup as it is today. Where do you see your company in 5 years? I mean, where do you see that race team in 5 years? Because don't tell me you haven't already thought about it, because you've already thought about it. There's always a big picture, right?
I would say the big picture for AB Motorsports, because it's not Antron Brown Motorsports, it's just AB Motorsports. What I see is in the next 5 years is us growing. And by growing, I mean is definitely having a second car. Like to have a funny car. That is no secret about that. And I like to grow our business side of the company also too, on the marketing side, to help other teams get sponsorship, but not also get sponsorship, but also show them and teach them and actually offer them the services on how to maintain sponsorship and what it takes to grow and keep it. By us having Matco for over the last 14 years. I've been with Toyota for the last 14 years. And the thing about it is it's showing them how to work and become part of the brands that sponsor them to help their brands get to where they need to get to. And I think we have a formula for success there that we can help other entities achieve that and help our sport grow on that side. You know what I mean? And do some other stuff outside of motorsports and help different people create different brands and create their brand. You know what I mean? And that's something that we've been doing in the ABM, as you see right here on my shirt right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I caught that earlier.
That's the logo. You know what I mean?
Now, are those available for purchase anywhere?
They're coming out. They're coming out.
All right.
So that right there, when you see my logo, I never explained to it because for one thing is I'm a God-fearing man and I'm a Christian and I always put God first. And then right there, I got the cross, and I use the cross to what I like to say to a lot of people out there, that cross is a crossroads that we bridge the gaps. And that's what AB Motorsports is going to be out there for. It's going to help people bridge the gaps so they can have a strong foundation to go out there and build themselves and build their entities, whether it's in motorsports or other things like that also. So we have a lot of stuff working in the background, and we have no limits. And that's what it's all about.
Do you see your kids playing a big role in this? Sort of like how you kind of come up through your dad, and I know your kids have been racing a little bit. Do you see them coming into your company if they want to some degree?
Absolutely. My kid's been a very big part of everything that we've been a part of too. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So our kids has been a really big part of everything that we do, and they're a part of it. My son Anson right now, he's got one more year left of junior dragster racing, but he's got a super comp license, and he'll get his feet wet this year in the big car. He's ready to go race a big car so bad. And I said, son, you're going to finish this junior dragster out. And he's mad at me. I said, you can't go back and do it again. You can race big cars for the rest of your life. And I know you're excited. I know you're this. But you're going to enjoy your last year, and I want you to soak it in. And I want you to go out there and have fun, but you better go out there and destroy them this year. That's what I tell them. I said, boy, you better go out there and show them what you made of this year because you're going big car racing. This is it. So And my son, I'm very proud of all my kids. All my kids are all. I love that they're into something. You know what I mean? My daughter, she loves dancing and she's in it. She also likes racing, but she loves dancing. And she's got a little love for racing. And I told her, I said, you can always race when you get older. I said, focus on what you want to do. And my youngest son, Adler, he likes racing, but that's a good thing because he doesn't like much of nothing. But he loves art. He's very artistic, drawing, painting, and doing that stuff. He's like when he was in literally first grade, he was doing art on a sixth grade level.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and now he is like, he blows the roofs off of it. Like he actually helps his art teacher in art class. He's the assistant in art class, and he's in middle school in 8th grade. And I'm proud of all of them. And Adler, I can see him race a little bit. He's got the eye of the tiger too. But Anson just loves it. He eats, sleeps it. The boy dreams about it. He's into it. Only thing I'm going to do now is I've challenged him with a lot of different tasks. I said, boy, I said, you got to be in shape. I want you in shape. He works out 3 or 4 times a week. He's tall. He's under 200 pounds, like in his 190s. He's 6 foot tall. But I'm going to tell you the determination of this young man. A year ago, my son Anson got up to being 275 to 280 pounds. Wow. So he got serious and changed his eating habits, just eating right. No sugars, no soda pops, like, with sugar in it and stuff like that. I used to be a big soda guy, Taco Bell type of person, but he ate good. He ate good foods, but he dedicated himself. And he's really impressing me. And I give him compliments, but I'm letting you know I'm not real big on fluffing my kids up. I give them tough love. You know what I mean? I'm like, you're doing all right. You know what I mean? And but I'm really, really super proud of him and super impressed of where he's at and what he's doing with himself. Because I can't teach them want to. They've got to learn to have the want to. But I'm just very upfront and honest to them. And I'm not harsh on my kids. You can ask any of my kids, I don't yell at them. I only yell at them if they get in trouble, if they do something that's bad. But besides that, motivate them. I don't talk down on them. I just tell them, I say, hey, this is what it is. I said, either you want it or you don't. It's your life. This is your choice. And I said, if you really want it, this is what you're going to do. Because this is what I had to do. And Anson, it shocked me because I used to tell him that when he was a little kid growing up for years and years. He never listened, just did what he wanted to do. And it clicked on him. He came in, got his own scale, got his own deal, starts eating this way, eating that way, doing this. The pounds start falling off. And I said, well, that's great. I said, but you got to be in shape too. You got to have some endurance, son. Endurance. Hear him on a treadmill every other night on a treadmill downstairs in the basement in the workout room. In there grinding, getting it on. And now I got to get down there and start grinding with him for next year. You know what I mean? So I always take a month off. I've been taking my month off, and now I'm about to get back to my grind. So, but I'm super proud of him. And I can see him doing some things. But he's still got a long ways of work ahead of him, though, down the road. He's got to come out this summer on the tour with the race guys. He's got to work with them, learn how to work on things, learn how to torque a head on, learn how to do bottom end, learn how to put rods together, learn how to work on all this stuff. And that's what he's going to learn this summer.
So through your, obviously through your life, you've raced, obviously different forms of motorsports, motocross, pro stock motorcycle, top fuel. When you, I don't know, maybe down the road when you're kind of stepping out of maybe drag racing, is there any other type, or maybe even during the off season, is there any other type of motorsports you would be interested in trying? I know like Ron Capps does like dirt track racing or whatever.
I'll do it all. I like to road, like I like doing road racing. I've done that. I wanted to get in some rally cars too. Yeah, like rally cross. Cool. Oh yeah, man. I've been to dirt fish I've been to dirt fish once, but I'm about to go back again because I did the 2-wheel drive, like the Toyota 86s they have there. Mm-hmm. They have Subarus, but they're Toyota 86s. So I got out there and did the rear wheel drive stuff and learned how that. Me and Steve Torrance got after it, and I did some circle track stuff on pavement, but I really want to get into the dirt side of it. You know what I mean? The dirt's the fun stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I really like
Yeah.
the stage rally. I've been to a couple ARA races, and like Pastrana and Ken Block, and those guys are amazing. I love the stage rally.
Yes. Yes. They get after it. They get after it for sure. And I
Well,
want to do some drifting stuff too, without a doubt. You know what I mean?
if they would just make a few more hours in the day, you could get it all done, right?
I could do it all. Trust me, ain't too many things I cannot drive. Trust me.
That I believe. That I absolutely believe. Well, Antron, thank you so much for coming in and talking to us. Like I said, I'm getting ready to find a wall and run through another wall
Me
for
too.
you. And
Hey,
man, you
I
really
appreciate it,
are
fellas.
inspiration. And I do have one final question. For anybody getting into any level of motorsport, obviously one thing that you've excelled at is relationships with sponsors. And I know that's something we just discussed.
Yes.
You want to kind of start mentoring people at that level. What would be like just one great piece of advice that you could give a younger person today, someone 16, 19 years old?
I would say somebody that's 16, 19-year-old on sponsorship is that this is the hardest part about sponsorship. Like a lot of people get it misled, like, all right, well, I got to put a proposal and they like it. They're going to give me money. I'm going to put a sticker on something. It's not how it works. The thing about sponsorship, what I would tell the young ones coming up, find a way that you can give a ROI, return on investment, is no different. And you got to put yourself in that partners or sponsors place and sit yourself over there and say, what would I want in return if I own this business? Find out what they want in return. Find out their mission. Find out what they're trying to do. And you have to find out how you insert yourself inside that mission, and you sell yourself to them, that you're going to be an extension of them and bring them more business. And this is one last story that I'll leave the whole audience with, especially on sponsorship. When I was young and racing motocross, I needed to raise some money, okay, to sponsor. And we had some friends that owned a pizza shop, okay? And when they owned a pizza shop, what I did, I went up to him, I asked the owner if he will sponsor, our friends asked him if they will sponsor me racing motocross. And I was asking for a $500 sponsorship. And he told me no. And he goes, but this is what I'll do for you. On my most slowest night, which is a Monday, which I usually close for, I'm always closed except for a holiday season. He goes, I'm going to open my pizza shop up for you. And he goes, I'm going to open it up for 4 hours from 6 to 10. Anybody that comes through those doors through 6 to 10 that you advertise for, I will give you half the proceeds. The other half's going to pay for my food costs and keep the lights on. So I'm not losing no money. Like he wasn't making no money, but you know what I mean? He wasn't gaining nothing. And he goes, I will give you 50% of the money that we have come through the door. And you invite all the people, you make flyers out, tell all your family, tell all your friends, and we'll do this. And whatever money I make, that's what I'll sponsor your dirt bike with. Well, I'm thinking, well, man, I can at least I got to work hard to get $500. You know what I mean? You got to sell $1,000 worth of food. Back then, the pizza's only $10. You get what I mean? It's not like $25 now. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, you get a pizza for like $8. You know what I mean? You got to get the works. You pay $9.99 or something like that. You know what I mean? This is New York pizza, so it's big pizza. This ain't no Domino's or Papa John's. Pizzeria, mom and pop pizzeria shop. And so I go and I tell everybody, I am passing these flyers out because I need it like yesterday. And it's going to pay my entry fees for the year. And I'm going to put his name on my motocross jersey that we'll have made up. It'll pay for that too. And so I do all this. So this would have turned into, okay, I ended up inviting all my family and friends that I knew, my cousins, people in high school, not high school, middle school at the time, middle school, not even middle school, middle school, probably 7th grade. And invite everybody. We packed that joint out. Okay. We end up selling. it was like he sold more food than he normally sells, like on a like it almost got even what he sells on a Friday.
Oh,
Okay. Wow. Packed a joint out. People staying out, people taking to go orders. They had no sitting room. Everybody's sitting at tables. And I was telling people, you guys got to go. You got to get out.
And he was probably thinking, man, why did I do this? Right?
No, I was smiling from ear to ear.
No, I'm saying he was. The pizza guy was kind of like, man, what did I get myself into?
Super stoked where we did it every year after that.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
And this is going to blow your mind. So this will show you something. He made, like, in ticket sales that night, we brought in over $10,000.
Wow.
And I got 50%. So my $500 sponsorship turned to $5,000. And what it did for me was it paid all my entry fees and got me some new dirt bikes. Because back then the dirt bikes I was riding were like $2,500. So I got a new dirt bike to add on to it. And then we did the whole bike up with all of his logos and everything on it. And he loved it. And he just felt so good. But that taught me at an early age how to do sponsorship. He got something in return. And yet all my family members and friends that never been to his pizza shop, his stuff was so good, they became repeat and return customers. So he got that in return, not just what he did for me that night, but they were customers throughout the rest of the year because what he's done for me. So he gained over like 200 new customers.
Crazy.
Man.
So that right there taught me how sponsorship worked. And then when I got older, I started learning how to apply the same thing, but just on a bigger level, the bigger platform.
And I think that's a real testament to not only that person saying, I will take a chance with you. I will work with you. I had a thing where we had Tice Carlson in, and we were talking about a situation, and I won't go through the whole story, but he said yes to allowing somebody coming in and staying with his family. His family said yes, and it changed. It helped change the guy's life. And I mean, to this day, this guy's very successful in motorsports and many other things. And that person said yes to you, but it also, like, it's a testament to yourself, all the hard work that you're always willing to put in, and how personable you are as well. I mean, you're such a you light up any space you're in, and that's I can't say that's a rare quality. I think very few people allow themselves to show that quality.
Well, I think if people could just be themselves at the end of the day, that's what you got to do. You got to be the best version of yourself, plain and simple. And that's what I try to do every day. I try to better myself every day. But the key ingredient is, Scott, is that all I ever try to do in life is truly go by this motto. I truly try to treat people how I will want them to treat me. And if you show people love, they will love you back. If you show people you have no time, they will have no time for you. If you show people that you're ugly with them, you will get ugliness back. And all it is time. It's just a little bit of time.
Yeah, and we sure appreciate you sharing your time with us tonight.
Anytime.
Yeah, thanks, Antron. Your PR team is great to deal with. I've dealt with, obviously we deal with PR people all the time, and I've never dealt with a group that have their stuff more together than your team. So it definitely seems like you have a good team of people.
I got a good group working with us too. So, and there's really, really good people, and I'm very, very blessed to have them a part. That's what I'm always tell people. If you get great people, keep them close and keep them around. You know what I mean? That's what makes the team. The parts and pieces is the people that put those pieces on your car.
That's right. Now, those shirts, I'm going to buy some shirts. Now,
they will be available really, really soon. We're actually going to put them up on the website here shortly. This is just a short version. Let me show you. I'll show you one real quick. I'll show you also.
Okay.
Let me get up here. Go here. So when I raced with Troy, we always had this this motto, and this is the cool part.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
One team, one mind, one purpose. And then, of course, you have on the front side. This is just stuff we did so the guys can wear in the shop right now. So they have something to wear that has AB Motorsports on it. That's all. But we're going to have some cooler ones that are going to have the same saying, but they're going to be more graphic. I'm going to put some of my isms on the back of some stuff, like, you know, like you only beat resistance with persistence. And I got a lot of my they call them the AB isms. You know, so yeah, so
I think you got to have one about running through a wall for you or something, right, Scott?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I tell you what, Antron, again, man, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us, and hopefully we get to speak with you again sometime through the season, or possibly next year at the end of the season sometime.
Well, I appreciate. Well, hey, y'all want to ever get on again? We can do it through the season also too. Might want to do one mid-season, do one at the end of the year, and we could do a.
Hey, I'm down for all of it.
All right.
All right,
absolutely. Man. Well, hey, I really appreciate you guys, without a doubt.
Thanks, Antron. Appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you. Thank you, Antron.
Y'all have a blessed Christmas and a great, wonderful New Year.
You too, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.